You're gonna have to move. Hi. Oh, she's so cute. Look, she's in the way. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn and I did not plan out this video at all. Like most of you bookworms out there, I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Goodreads. That's where we're going today though. We're going to go to Goodreads and look at 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. This was inspired by me reading a 1-star review of The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, which his Dark Materials series is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I was like, ah man, let's see what other people hate other books that I love. We're gonna save The Golden Compass for last. We're actually going to start with Geekerella by Ashley Poston. So if you're not familiar, this is a contemporary retelling of Cinderella with a fandom twist. The main character's name is Elle, and she is a really huge fan of this television show called Starfield, and she is absolutely horrified when the new movie reboot casts this teen soap opera actor named Darian as the star. So this person gave it 1.75 stars. I was extremely excited for this book. I only heard great things, and it indeed left me disappointed. Overall, it was boring, slow, unrealistic, even for a fairy tale. Flat characters, annoying main character, and the list goes on. Things that made me feel nauseous. Insured abs. Okay, yeah, so Darian's father, who is by no means supposed to be a good character, has his abs insured, and you're not supposed to feel good about that. He's not a good guy. All the stupid pop culture references, just please stop. It's a book about fandom set at a Comic-Con. So I don't know how that's supposed to exist without pop culture references. The two kind of go hand in hand. The fact that all Elle did was complain, whine, complain, and whine. Well, you see, I feel like this is going to be a pretty common complaint because Elle is a character who's in a terrible home situation and really has no control over her terrible home situation because she is a minor. And whenever those characters exist, people like to call them whiny and complaining whenever they're like, hey, my terrible home situation is terrible. The main character, Danielle, or Elle, was so annoying. It is a retelling of Cinderella, so sure, it sucks that she lost her parents and lives with her evil stepmother and stepsisters, but why does she act like this is the end of her life, and there is nothing she can do to make it better? The entire plot centers around her coming up with a plan to get out of her situation. So, in a way, she is not at all acting like there's nothing she can do to make it better. She is, in fact, actively attempting to do so. But again, she is a minor, and therefore has very little control over the situation she's been left in, because yes, both of her parents are dead, and that sucks. This is the corniest shit I've ever read. Also, I fucking hate the whole falling in love with someone you accidentally texted thing. This is probably one of my favorite tropes. It's stupid and completely unrealistic. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's fiction. I want to know how the person you accidentally text just happens to be your age, hot, and exactly your type. Bitch, please. Maybe it's because I spend a lot of time on the internet, but I like the idea of two people who've never actually met being able to connect on an intellectual sort of level without knowing that it's that. Like, I know that it might be creepy, like, if it were real life, but, like, we get both point of views. We know that, like, neither one of them is a creepy older stalker human. I like when YA romance is a little bit corny. Like, all of my favorite YA romances have a little bit of, like, a corny, unrealistic sort of, like, thing about them. Like, that's what interests me. I don't go in for realism. Just one question, why does a vegan pumpkin food truck sell chimichangas? You could make a vegan chimichanga. You can make a vegan most things. I was actually considering being nice and giving this a pity 3 stars until I came about that dig at Taylor Swift. Of course it had to have a dig at Taylor. It would not have lived to its complete sexist women-hating potential without a completely random and unnecessary classic dig at Taylor Swift. Not liking Taylor Swift does not automatically make you a woman hater. You can dislike things that people typically hate on because they don't like women but have actual valid reasons for disliking them. I don't like a significant amount of Taylor Swift's work, but I do like a significant amount of her other later work. This book was published pre-Reputation and Lover, which are my 2 favorite albums. I totally get, like, a lot of misogyny happened surrounding Taylor Swift, but I don't think in any way this series is woman-hating. Next, we're actually going to look at My Plain Jane by Cynthia Han, Jodi Meadows, and Brodi Ashton. This is a retelling of Jane Eyre, which I hate the book Jane Eyre, but a lot of people love the book Jane Eyre, and I want to see if there is anyone here who really loved the book Jane Eyre who really hates this. So, DNF'd at 33%. I should have known this would happen. I also DNF'd My Lady Jane because I hated it, and I also hated this. Why would you pick up their second book if you knew that you didn't like the first one? I hated the writing and the humor and the pace. These authors won't get me again. I'm not even going to read the next book's summary because that's how they always get me, and then I hate the book. So bye forever, Cynthia Han, Jodi Meadows, and Brodi Ashton. I mean, I don't care if I think a book's summary is good. If I know that I don't like the author's style, I'm not going to pick up the book. You just set yourself up for disappointment, sweetie. They have a very specific style of writing and a very specific humor, and I think that it can be a bit much. In fact, one of the reasons I did not rate My Calamity Jane as high as the other 2, it's a little bit longer, and I felt like sometimes they got a little bit heavy-handed with their narratorial voice. So, like, that's valid. If you don't like it, you're not gonna like these books. There are references to other novels like Pride and Prejudice, Harry Potter, and The Princess Bride. One of the characters actually says, "My name is Alexander Blackwood. You killed my father. Prepare to die." Just no, no, no. Yeah, they do make a lot of references. And it makes a little bit less sense than in Geekerella, the Once Upon a Con books, but, like, it's funny. I think it's funny. I like pop culture references where they don't belong, I guess. Ooh, I'm proud of Jane Eyre fan. In the original Jane Eyre, the novel describes Jane's paintings, which are incredibly dark and macabre. In this novel, Jane Eyre paints pretty landscapes with a pretty blonde girl in them. And that sums up my feelings about this story. Jane Eyre is a rich, emotionally complex, and powerful story about one woman's empowerment. Empowerment?! Oh my god. And this is so lame. What makes it worse is that you can tell the book thinks it's getting it right in the way it describes Mr. Rochester and Jane's relationship. It is! It's creepy! They admit that it's creepy, and they change. Oh my god. Mr. Rochester is a fascinating character, definitely not a perfect one, and there certainly can be plenty of valid criticism, but he's also odd, funny, playful, thoughtful, and kind. No, in a way that is just not here. What's more important, maybe, is his ability to truly see Jane's worth from the jump. No, he doesn't. He's not Mr. Darcy, and I hated this book trying to compare him to Mr. Darcy. It feels like these authors miss the entire point. They get some of the best parts of the original story. In fact, almost the entire original story is gone. The character development is laughable, and their original story is lame and riddled with weird plot holes. Some of the characters are just mean. Also, I would appreciate it if they would lay off the direct rips of The Princess Bride. I get it. I love that movie too. Why is everyone so annoyed by them quoting The Princess Bride? What is probably the most telling is that Jane is an afterthought in this book. She's essentially a MacGuffin. She doesn't really grow or change in any way, nor is she meaningfully part of the climax. In the original, you feel for her and sense her growing power and confidence in herself. She has none. At the end, she seems settled and happy, but it isn't an earned independence. No, it's not. Okay. At the end of this travesty, I just felt sorry for Jane until a tacked on 3-paragraph ending tried to make it okay with some creepy implications, which is pretty rich given how judgmental this book is on romance. How is this creepy, but the end of Jane Eyre is not creepy? Next, we're gonna move on to Dealing with Dragons, the first book in Patricia Seed's Enchanted Forest Chronicles. It follows Princess Cynthia, who longs to be able to learn and explore life for herself outside of the constrictions of being a princess, but her parents don't think that any of the things that she's interested in are proper princess activities. They want her to just marry this prince, and she does not want to do that, so she runs away to purposefully become a dragon's princess. I'm sorry, but I simply didn't like it. It kept emphasizing how unorthodox and cool the heroine was compared to a traditional female, and how she's the only one with sense, and how almost the rest of the princesses is feminine AF, except maybe for that Eleonora friend, and how they all do and take pride in these feminine things. As for the story, it was pretty unmemorable and boring that I don't even remember the heroine's name, but you remember Eleonora? The tribulations were solved too easily too. Is it because the audience was mostly aimed for, kids? Maybe. I feel like we're gonna get a lot of people trying to talk down to this book because it is aimed at children. Cynthia does spend a lot of time thinking, these princesses are quite feminine. Eleonora is actually a pretty good example of someone she at first overlooks because of their femininity and then realizes, oh, there's more to her. So she does actually check her biases, but they're understandable biases considering that people are trying to force her into that mold. She doesn't want to be in that mold. So she does have like a tiny bit of not like other girls syndrome, but I do think that it gets challenged within the series. Boring for kids who has crushes on boys. Not once in this book does Cynthia ever has crushes on boys. This is the first book about dragons I've read, and I certainly did not have high expectations. I know this is a child's tale, but it really wasn't that interesting at all. I would not have read it if it wasn't a part of my reading challenge. I probably won't pick up any book about dragons for a long time. Jessica, you seem boring as fuck. It was like watching Shrek with his friends in the Enchanted Forest. Obviously, I don't like Shrek. Okay, next we're going to read 1-star reviews of The Devouring Grey by Lynn Herman. This is a contemporary paranormal sort of fantasy. The main character, Violet, moves to her mother's hometown, discovers that she is part of one of the 4 founding families of that town, and that means that she has powers that she has inherited. That means she's also inherited the task of keeping this creature called the Beast from entering their dimension from this other dimension called the Grey, where it was trapped by the 4 founders. This book is a mix of so many other things, and I just wasn't a fan. There is a lot of Stranger Things. This book was pitched as being similar to Stranger Things, but the crappy discount version. I don't even like Riverdale or The Vampire Diaries, but that was in here too, but worse. Even the summary just tells how it's like every other generic paranormal YA novel that has graced us all these last 10 years. Why are the powers different for each person in the family, and why did they randomly not show up and only like 2 people, but every other founder descendant has them? I have so many questions that I don't actually care to know the answer. You actually do get to know why Justin doesn't have powers in the second book. It's a question that gets addressed. It's okay to have questions. This book seems mistakenly tagged as LGBT rep because this wasn't it for me. While there are a lot of random bi characters, one of the main characters seemed he was just for some unrequited crush angst. This book really sets up the romances for the sequel, but all of those were straight pairings, minus one possible female-female side character pairing. Maybe I'm wrong and the romance will be completely different, but I don't think I am. A bisexual character, especially when paired with another bisexual character in a male-female romance, is not in a straight relationship, man. Everyone's so pressed about Stranger Things. Is the Devouring Grey like Stranger Things? If you take out all the fun characters and their team dynamics, the cool aesthetics, and the suspense atmosphere, then sure, Raven Boys, I guess. I assumed everyone was a rich white person if that's what it was going for, and the only thing hinting that they weren't was Justin needing a scholarship, which felt ridiculously unrealistic, because why would the descendants of founders, settlers really, if we want to get down to the nitty-gritty, not have the means to put their kid through college? It just felt like I was being blatantly lied to. First of all, it's a tiny-ass town, so you can be the founder of a tiny-ass town and still not have money, so that's interesting. Second of all, they do kind of go into the fact that these families are declining, and third of all, settlers really, if we want to get down to the nitty-gritty, as if that's like a gotcha moment, when really the entire second book is about, like, that exact thing. Is the beast a real monster? Is the beast the depression we met along the way? Who knows? It's both. It's both of those things. Okay, next we have The Reader by Traci Chee. It's the first book in the Reader trilogy, another one of my favorite series of all time. Let's see. First off, the pacing was really bad, and the book was so freaking slow. I couldn't believe how slow it is. We spent half the book plotlessly walking through a forest, and the rest of it on a boat plotlessly through the ocean. Trust me, I've read slow books, but this one takes the cake for slowness. It didn't bother me. This book has so many nice descriptions. I really love descriptions. I just kind of let myself get wrapped up in the atmosphere of the world. Secondly, the plot is where? So Cynthia has this book she's been hiding and on the run with for 6 years. In that time, she's never touched it and just carries it around for no reason. So when her mentor Lynn gets dragged off, etc., she ends up alone and finally reads the damn book. Her goal is now to save Lynn and figure out what the dang book is for and what it means, and this is such a small plot to carry a whole massive book on. Every plot starts with a small seed of something. More things happen. To continue on the whole book thing, the book they're all fighting over and that Cynthia is hiding is about freaking pirates. Sure, I like pirate stories, but not that dang much. It's not just about pirates, though. So, okay, there is more to the dang book than that. But for the first, 40-ish%, I thought that all these people were fighting over a book about soft-hearted pirates, while I was wanting to be doing anything else. You're not supposed to know why they're fighting over the book right away. It's supposed to be a mystery. Where's the plot? I don't understand. This reviewer is like, I didn't like this thing. Well, okay, so technically it wasn't actually this thing that I thought I didn't like, but I still didn't like, right? If you didn't like it, you should be glad that it wasn't actually what you thought it was. Right? I don't like this review. The book was mainly just description. Did I not just say that's why I liked the book? So many freaking descriptions. Every time a character came into the scene, no joke, you get a full description of them. As an example, she made each suture perfectly, one neat stitch after another, until they were lined up across Archer's wounds like sharp black letters, as if every set of stitches was a healing word Doc had written to keep his skin together. That's such a good... I love that. It shows you how Steffi's viewing the world, and it shows you that Doc is who Doc is, a character, I just that's good, that's revealing, that's wonderful, I love it, but this person says it was so damn tedious. The book worship isn't anything meaningfully deep or profound. Rather than being an adoration of knowledge and information and independence, it's the kind of self-proclaiming book love where you say you love books, but your favorite book is Divergent or The Fault in Our Stars, and you Instagram it with a coffee mug because you love the aesthetic and the faux intellectualism. What? It's talking about the joys of knowledge and acquired. What? Oh, Sarah's jaded as fuck. Last but not least, we have The Golden Compass. This is the book that inspired me to create this, and I'm going to start with the review that inspired me. Let me tell you the problem I had with Pullman's novel by using an analogy. Do you know what the word didactic is? Well, imagine this. Let's say I wanted to give you some moral instruction, but you dislike instruction. It's not as fun as story time, so I disguise my moral instruction in a little booky wookie that's really just work dressed up like play. And that's the problem I have with The Golden Compass. Let me try this another way. Do you know C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Well, some people who are not religious dislike Lewis's book because they say way more than anything Tolkien ever did. Lewis's book is supposed to point to the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Do you know who Aslan is supposed to be? And as someone who liked Lewis's story because I am a Christian, and consequently look very favorably on Christian allegories, I have to put up with a great deal of objections from people who are not Christian, who think that Lewis's story is just dressed up religious speak. Now, back to Pullman's novel, The Golden Compass. On Wikipedia, Pullman is quoted as saying Lewis's aforementioned book was religious propaganda. Boo-hoo, silly woo-hoo. It appears that we shouldn't use stories to convey our religious or moral values, or lack thereof. But wait a minute. Look closely at The Golden Compass. Yes, that's right. People view The Golden Compass as being a direct rebuttal of Lewis's book. So, you know how Lewis used his book to communicate his religious worldview? Pullman used The Golden Compass to communicate his. And usually it's the atheists who are accusing the Christians of hypocrisy. Ta-da! It's a little bit hypocritical for people who look at Christian allegory and say it's just dishonest preaching in disguise, only for one of their side to use a book that has a subtext for their own humanist worldview. So here's the deal. When you tell me a story, tell me a story. It's one thing for you to make religious allusions. It's something else to beat me over the head with your humanist worldview. I don't think that Pullman's problem is with the fact that Narnia is an allegory. I think Pullman's problem is with the religion that it is an allegory of. Also, could not one describe the Bible as disguised moral instruction in a little booky wookie that's really just work dressed up like play? Two forces acted toward me reading this book. One, my daughter had tried to read it and didn't get very far, and two, the controversy. If my daughter were not enrolled in a prestigious Montessori school, if she were instead attending a public school, I have no doubt she would be labeled gifted for her reading and writing skills. Oh my god. Y'all, his daughter is special. I myself shake my head in disbelief at the complexity and expanse of her vocabulary. To this end, I found myself drawn to find out why my precocious child had a hard time wrapping her mind around this book. My first problem with Compass was the amount of foreknowledge one needs about the Catholic Church to even understand plot movements that shape up early on. Okay, here's the thing. I first had these books read to me, I was like 6 or 7, and I had no issue following them, and I was not at all raised Christian, so I feel like maybe I'm special. It's just an awful story to begin with. Lyra's basically perfect. No. Everything goes right for her. Double no. Except for the end. Yeah. Because a sequel needed to happen. Every other character is either evil or good. No subtlety is present here. No. The entire idea is that people are doing evil things, thinking that they're the good guys, because that's what villains are. And no one is actually 100% moralistically good, including Lyra, because she's been shaped by these people. Every other character is either evil or good. Maybe Lyra views them in that manner because she is a child, and therefore her worldview is very black and white. But as a reader, you're supposed to be able to pick up on the subtleties of character. Oh, here's a person who thinks it's slow. You know, me, slow and corny. Alright, so that was me reacting to 1-star reviews of books that I actually really love. I really don't think that all of these books are perfect at all, but they are, you know, just exactly what I was looking for when I read them. They make me happy. Sure, some of them might be corny. Some of them might be slow-paced. That fits my taste, and it doesn't fit other people's taste, and that is totally fine. There were some other things where I'm like, okay, well, if you'd read the next book, or if you were just okay with letting yourself have questions, then, like, maybe you would have enjoyed it more. There were some takes that I just thought were bad. I don't usually like to go for negativity On this channel, I don't usually talk about books that I didn't like. I don't usually like making fun of people, but, you know, sometimes it's cathartic to just laugh at stupidity. I might in the future consider doing the opposite of this, where I read 5-star reviews of books that I didn't like to see why the heck people thought they were good. I had a lot of fun filming this. I hope that y'all had a lot of fun watching. If you like this video, remember to click that subscribe button. With that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.